Happy Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday edition of Spiritual Relevance. You know, in the grand scheme of things, we forget sometimes that there's a power greater than we are that we can use. And I like to think that's what I'm here for, to remind you of that. Good morning, Heidi. You're first again. You're awfully good at that. And I appreciate it. Thank you. It's wonderful to have company when I first come on. Good morning, Lainey. Glad you're here. And good morning to any of you who are hanging around out there and just haven't checked in yet. I love it when you do. I love knowing that you're here. I love company on a Sunday morning. And this is, at least where we are, here in Ventura, it's a glorious Sunday morning. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, the birds are singing. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful out there. And I hope it is for you too. Happy out day and Sunday divineness to you as well, Laura. I love that. Sunday divineness. Yes. Yes. It is a divine Sunday. And I'm glad we're all in it and in it together. Countdown, it's almost election time, getting closer all the time. Every day, tick, 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 tick. I can hear the clock ticking. And my prayer is that only good comes out of this election. That everybody recognizes their responsibility to step up and speak and let their voice be heard, and that we all do that. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I get it. You guys wouldn't miss the opportunity. But I like to say it. And just in case somebody is out there hanging around and still not sure, let's get in touch with your divinity and then listen to that voice. There are so many voices out there, aren't there? Just voices upon voices upon voices. The news in the evening, I find, gets shorter every night as they stick in a few more commercials, and more voices get heard. And I suppose that's good. That all the voices get heard. But boy, sometimes it sounds like clatter, doesn't it? Do this, vote on this, say yes on this, say no on that. It's exhausting. I'll be glad when it's over. I will. I'll be glad when it's over. I can't wait. And but I have to. I know I have to, and I will. Thank you, Lainey. I appreciate that. Early birthday. Yes. Cac says I should take down the poster in back of me. We actually did take it down last week. She said, you know, here you are talking about positive, wonderful things, and there's a poster in back of you that says the miserable ones on it. But you all know that poster, and you know, I love the subtitle, the world's most popular musical. I wonder if that's true. I suppose it was at some point. But I have it up for a whole different reason, and many of you know what that reason is, and we're actually there because we made a trip back in the day to see Les Mis, and Jean Valjean was being sung by our very own Ivan Rutherford, who was our church soloist for a very long time. And this particular poster is signed by the cast of Les Mis and has Ivan's signature on it, of course. and was basically for all of us, but I got to keep it. And I love it. I love it. It says a lot about our collective past and the good that we shared with the world. So I have this poster in back of me, and directly in front of me on the opposite wall is a poster that says passion is the very fact of God in man. And those two posters go together very well in my mind. Ivan, you remember Ivan, precious Ivan. Ivan was passionate. He hadn't been singing professionally very long at all. He kind of stuck his neck out, I think, and ended up playing Jean Valjean on Broadway and with a touring company. So, yay, Ivan! Yay, how Spirit Works has changed the world in some very positive ways. Yay for passion, and yay for my poster. I'm sticking with it. I'm probably getting a dirty look. I am getting a dirty look.
It's your subconscious you're putting
out. My subconscious. But it's in back of me, it's not in front of me. In front of me is passion, is the very fact of God and man. And it's not about the miserable ones. It's about Ivan and history and a really good musical, one of my favorites. So there you have it.
I'm writing to Ivan and I'm telling him you're talking about him.
Okay, tell Ivan I'm talking about him. He is still adorable, Jennifer. I agree with you. He is still adorable. I hear from him periodically. He kind of comes in and out of my life. And I love that, especially the coming in part. Let's see. What else? Well, here we go. Shall I, yes I shall, talk about what I was going to talk about this morning? Because Lainey gave me the perfect intro to it. So I'll just grab that and run with it. Shall I? Yes, I shall. I shall. So, I've got a birthday coming up. And boy, there's nothing like a birthday to get you thinking about time passing and age and maybe aging. I've known more than one person in my life that had decided, because of something that happened when they were younger, that they were going to die at a certain age. And I can tell you, collectively, most of them were insufferable when it got close to that time, because they were just convinced that their time was up. And then that time came and it went, and they were still here and surprised surprised that they were still here. And I can tell you that most of them have continued, some for another quarter of a century beyond their due date. So what does that say? I don't know. Except that they were miserable and they made everybody else miserable for nothing, for an idea. But then, isn't that usually what stokes those fires? Eve Blake once wrote, "Old age is contagious, but you don't have to catch it." I like that. I mean, we shall all surely age. Chronological sequency isn't actually a choice. It's an in. It's an is. It just is. Time will go by. But I tend to prefer siding with Satchel Paige. If you haven't heard me say this one over the years, you really have not been listening. Satchel asked, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? I know I'm different ages on different days, aren't you? Aren't you? On good mood days, I'm considerably younger than the calendar would tell you that I am. And on some not so good mood days, I feel older and probably act older and am older. As you think, so it is. I do get that my attitude has a lot to do with my longitude, as it were. How old I think I am is how old I act, is how old I feel, is, well, you can kind of see that ball rolling downhill, can't you? Mike Wallace once said that age is something you can do nothing about. Nothing at all. But youth, he said, is a quality, and if you have it, you never lose it. I think that's true. I've known several people in their 90s that had a younger attitude than some people I've known in their 40s and 50s and 30s and 20s. The point being this: old is a choice. Old, according to Webster, is belonging to the past, outgrowing usefulness. Well, I don't want to belong to the past. Do you? And I certainly don't want to outgrow my usefulness. I don't want to go there. Do you? When my children were actually children and asked me how old I was, which they tended to do every birthday, I said I was 29 and holding. Well, I said that up until I couldn't get away with it any longer, and then I simply changed it to 39 and holding. The problem was I had smart kids. So I would say 29 and holding, and they would say and holding and holding and holding and holding, and add as many and holdings as added up to the number of years I had actually been on the planet. The curse of having smart kids. However, I like to think that no matter how many and holdings have passed since then, no matter how many cycles have cycled, no matter how many times the earth has circled the sun, I am still young in heart and concept, and young in mind. No matter how many calendar pages have turned, our minds and bodies generally weather the changes, or are weathered by them. If we allow our body or mind to stay in one place too long, we become rigid, still, set, inflexible. And then I think we age beyond our years. Simply put, if we don't grow, we just grow old. If you're curious about knowing how to spot signs of getting older, a sure sign is resistance to new ideas, resistance to change. The most unpleasant effect of the passage of time, all too often, is what I like to think of as hardening of the categories. Life changes. Time changes things. The collective consciousness changes things, often for the better, if we're willing to look at it that way. So the good book tells us, and a group called the Birds sang, to everything there is a season. And it's true. To everything, there is a season. A time to be right, to be correct in the moment, to be perfect for the time. You know, if your watch is stuck on 12 o'clock, it gets to be right twice a day. We all get to be right at some point. And then we are told that there's a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, to be young, to be irresponsible, to be naive, a time to be unconsciously incompetent and loving it, a time to be open to learning, to growing, to change. And the song and the book say, a time to die. To let go of what we have known, to let it fade away, so that something new may replace it. And nature tells us that that something new is often something better if we are open to that. A time to plant, to start something new. Planting different things at different times is what keeps us growing. It's what allows life to be a myriad adventure, to have surprises in our lives and have new things pop up. We have a vine in the garden that came out of nowhere, near as I can figure, that has grown up the wall and now is growing across the wall and has these big, beautiful leaves on it. And that's all it had for the longest time. And then the nasturtium, which was planted below it, has started growing up with it. So now it has two sets of beautiful leaves. But I noticed this morning a big, beautiful white flower on that vine. I hadn't seen it before. It's huge. It's that big. It's gorgeous. I should know what it is. I don't. I'm going to spend some time this afternoon finding out. But it's lovely. Was it planted on purpose and forgotten? Did it fly in from the neighbor's yard? I have no idea where it came from, but it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. So there is a time to plant. And this song says, a time to harvest that which is planted. You know, Spirit does the hard work. Spirit does the miraculous part, taking a seed and making it grow. Our work is to place the seed in the proper soil so that it can grow, and then ultimately to work the harvest. There's a delegation of responsibility here, and we must do our part. If we do our part, Spirit will do its part, and things will grow, and we will have a harvest. The song goes on, a time to kill, we are told, to remove that which must be removed, whether it is a plague or an idea or a pest. When its time is over, it must be over. And we must know that that time will come. A time to heal. We all need that. We all need to take that. A time to recover, to rest from that which threatened, that which frightened, that which compromised. Time to heal. And a time to break down, to take apart, to restructure, to analyze, to look at the pieces and see if they all still fit. And a time to build up. New foundations, new beliefs, new growths. a time to restructure, to look toward the future. A time to weep, the song says. Yeah, well, stuff happens. And we must not cut off our feelings. If tears are there, let them flow. Let them flow. They honor that which we are crying for and about, and they help us wash our hearts and our minds clean. And then a time to laugh. That same good book tells us tears last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Oh, it may not be the next morning, but it will come. Joy will return. Sadness will abate. A time to mourn. Yes, well, that's only right and necessary. Loss leaves us feeling vulnerable. And we must mourn because we are human. Honor that. And a time to dance. A time to move on. A time to reclaim joy. A time to let go and live again. We were watching a segment of the Forsyte saga last night. It's not new, of course, but we're catching up. And the heroine was in mourning. She had 2 months to go of her mourning period because her father had died, and she was dressed in black, but she had gone to a ball to just watch the dancers because she loved dancing, and she was asked to dance, and she said, "Oh no, I can't." And then a friend came up and said, "You can dance with me." A girlfriend said, "You can dance with me." And the women started to dance, and you could see the sorrow fall away. You could see the mourning fall away, and you could see her smile. And it was beautiful. A time to dance. A time to cast away stones. To let go of having to defend ourselves, to clean out our mental closets, a time to stop arming against a sea of troubles and rather to put them down. A time to gather stones together. Well, yes, there's always that, isn't there? That's kind of trust God and tie up the camel, isn't it? Time to know that it helps to have protection. That even though you trust the universe, there is that which is yours to do, and defending yourself may be part of that. A time to embrace, to touch, to love, to lift one another, to hug, to hug. We haven't been hugging for over 6 months now, most of us. And it's probably getting close to time, but not quite yet. So, virtual hugs, virtual elbow bumps, we can touch one another in other ways. And let us remember to do that. Because there is a time to refrain from embracing, and this is one of those times, isn't it? To let it be, to let them be, to be apart. A time to get, to gather, to acquire, to win, to possess. And a time to lose, to let go, to release, to not hold on. A time to keep, to save up, to store up, to keep close, to not let go, and a time to cast away, to release what no longer suits the magnitude of our minds, our hearts, our lives, our souls. A time to rend, to separate, to take apart, and a time to sow, to bring together, to repair what needs repair in your life, what needs to be sewn back together. A time to keep silent. Ah, yes, yes. And a time to speak out. Oh, yes. And this may be your time, our time, my time, to speak out, to stand up, to let our voice be heard. A time to love, the song says, always, always a time to love, and a time to hate. Now, I have to tell you that hate is really not acceptable in my life. And when I feel something like that in my heart or in my mind, I work on expelling it. But I can see that it serves a purpose. Just be reminded that there is always time for love. Love of spirit, love for one another, love for ourselves, love for our country, love for our God. Always make time for love. A time of war, the song says, which is a time to take a stand, to fight, if you will, for that which you believe in. And a time of peace, a time to put down our righteousness and come to the table. There is a time to choose. William James wrote, "We live by yes and no. Yes to everything good, no to everything bad." That's pretty simple, isn't it? Choose. Yes to everything good. And no, or no thank you, to everything bad. You do not have to take it just because it is offered. You do have to choose. And a time to cast off old choices. So here's a question. What are your foundation beliefs? What have you chosen to believe in? It is a choice, you know. Someone once wrote that the soundest reasoning leads to the wrongest conclusions when the premises are false or outdated or just inaccurate. What old choices maybe need to be rethought? There should be a National Clean Your Mind Day, I think, when we just stop down and look at all that we believe and say, this yes, this yes, this yes, that. No, that's not working for me. No, that's not conducive to the kind of life that I want to create. There is a time, according to the song, to use wisdom. Never park your brains at the door. Keep the engine running. Life does not become stuck or dull or boring or tiresome to an active mind. And great things are done by thinking people. Be one of them. And a time to take counsel of the heart. Pascal once said the heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of. Sometimes you just have to listen to your heart. No matter what things appear to be, or no matter what anybody else says, sometimes you just have to go with the heart. There's wisdom in that. So, according to the song and the book, there's time enough for everything and everyone. Time is not a unit of measure. Well, it is, but it is not primarily that. It's not a boundary, it's a concept, a space, an empty canvas, if you will, upon which we have applied numbers. It's a human concept, this time thing. There is no time or space in the mind of God. But you know, as God governs the spiritual universe, perhaps so might we govern and grow in ours. Time is flexible. Life is flexible. That's evolution. Life is large. That's universes beyond universes. Just about the time we think we get it figured out, somebody builds a bigger telescope and says, guess what? There's more out there. And it occurs to me that life seems to have a sense of humor. If you don't think so, you're just not really paying attention. Look around. Pay attention. Look at what life has to offer. Look at what life is offering you. Life is positive. It is affirmative. It is supportive. It is enhancing, if you're willing to look for it that way. If you're all caught up in the crises and the catastrophes, then you're not going to see that, and you will have missed a lot. Crises will do that. They tend to grab our minds and run with them, sometimes very silly places. Remember preparing for the catastrophes that were to follow Y2K? Remember? Most of you are, I'm looking at names over here. Yeah, you're old enough to remember that. Some of us were older than others, but yeah. Remember, the world was going to practically come to an end. They were just afraid that all kinds of horrible things were going to happen, that computers were going to blow up, that the mega computers were going to do terrible things, that the world might just come to an end. Remember? I remember when I was 29 and holding one of those, thinking about how old I would be at the millennium. Then I got there, and I didn't feel old at all. And I wasn't. The children that were born that year will be 21, legally adults next year. Which means I'll be 21 years older than I was when it happened, which was when I thought I was going to be old, but wasn't. And 21 years later, I still don't feel old. Do you? See, I think, what we believe, keeps us young. That's what I think. And just as a reminder, if you were there in Y2K, you know there were no catastrophes, just some clocks that needed to be reset and some computers that needed to be talked to. So maybe that's what we need now, a reset. Let's be flexible. Flexibility is, a kind of faith. It's faith that life goes on, that this isn't the end of anything. It's the willingness to be risk takers, to go out into that place where dragons are, to go beyond the edge of the known world, to be like children, spontaneous and instinctive and daring. So here's a challenge for you. Do something new every day to deviate from your normal routine. Just something new, drive a different way. Brush your teeth with your left hand. Do something different every day. Just to keep your mind focused. Think something through every day to detour from being in a thought rut. There's no bigger rut than a continuous I can't. So for those of you that have already said I can't to my first challenge, listen to this. Sean O'Casey wrote, I can't means I won't. And I won't is tantamount to declaring I fully intend to let this trial have its way and become exaggerated with the years until I succeed in becoming a misery to myself and a damn nuisance to others. Don't be like that. Let's get involved in something bigger than ourselves and our worries and our things. Let's go beyond dwelling in my little world and expand our horizons. Youth, someone wrote, is the predominance of the appetite for adventure over the desire for safety. We do that, don't we? As we get older, we kind of want to snuggle in and keep it comfortable and keep it safe. And there's a certain amount of sense in all of that. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I am saying is don't forget every once in a while to do things differently, to take a chance. Let's keep a sense of humor, shall we? Old is lacking humor, I think. Laughter is universal, and it's untouched by time. And frankly, a smile makes everyone look and feel younger, so who wouldn't want that? Let's keep smiling, especially at each other. Wednesday night, Tina was talking about how a smile can change things, and it can. If you walk down the street, even with your mask on, and you will, of course, have your mask on, if you walk down the street and you smile, something happens, even with, if I had a mask here. Your eyes light up, your cheeks flush. Smile. People will know you're smiling. Let us keep a positive outlook on life. It will keep us younger. Which means let's keep planning for the future. Not just the next hour or the next day or even the next week, but big plans. Big plans. What are you going to be doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? If you don't make plans, nothing will change and you'll grow old. If you make plans and don't make it, well, file it for next life. Maybe somebody else will pick up the baton and run with it. William James wrote, excitement, ideas, and efforts give energy. The power of an idea is in the idea. Science tells us that those who think more positively about their lives have stronger hearts because emotions and attitudes affect the functioning of those hearts. There's some science for you, medical science. Smile! Laugh, love, dance, There's time for everything. Count the love. Count the joy. Count the endless ideas that are still in your mind. Count the things you would like to see happen in this world. Would it take a miracle? Great! Miracles come easily and effortlessly to those who believe in them. And it's easier to believe in a miracle if you've got someplace to place it. Count the miraculous moments, the already done miracles in your life, and the miracles yet to come. Don't waste your time counting the years that have passed. Emerson said, we don't count the years until there's nothing left to count. And you have so much more to count than that. The past Shakespeare wrote is prologue. I thought I would be old at the millennium. Turned out I wasn't. I thought then that I would certainly be old 21 years later. Well, I'm not. So I'm going to stop prognosticating and just assume that I'll be forever young. Young in mind, young in heart, young in spirit. The wisdom of experience, coupled with faith in an eternal, ageless, changeless, creative spirit, makes anyone anything. Ageless. That's an idea I can support, one that I can hold on to, and hold on, and hold on, and hold on. How about you? Me and God, we've got work to do. I don't have time to get old. Neither do you. We have a calling. We have a living spirit challenging us to stay young and stay vital and stay involved. Calling us. Will you answer the call? All right, what have you guys been up to while I was talking there? I like Heidi's. I waited 2 years for one of my plants to produce a flower. This one's like that. We just thought it was a pretty leafy vine. It didn't show any signs, and all of a sudden there's this great big white flower on it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. You are miracles. You are growing, living, beautiful things in the life of God. Yeah, and you need to show off a little. This white flower is showing off. Let me tell you, it is showing off. It is absolutely stunning. Thank you, daughter. Thank you, daughter. Yay for the genes. Good genes. We've all got good genes. You know, you're beyond that. Your DNA is divine. At the heart of it all, you have divine DNA. What's better than that? Trust me, nothing is better than that. So, here's a question, completely off subject. I love Emerson too, Jennifer. I really do. Always, always on target, on point, and so beautifully worded that you can't possibly mistake it or not get it. I used to say that Ernest Holmes thought he was Emerson, or wanted to be, probably wanted to be. And Holmes wrote beautifully, but he wasn't Ralph Waldo. I love Emerson. Yeah. Oh, Lainey, thank you, darling. And Jennifer. Wow, guys, thank you. Thank you. I am honored to have had all of you as students. You know, when I was going through ministerial school, you've probably all heard this, but I'm going to say it because it's what just came to mind. When I was going through ministerial school, I dreaded the idea of having to teach classes. Dreaded it. Growing up, I didn't want to be a nurse. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't think I had the chops for it. I appreciated nurses and teachers. I loved them, but I didn't think I was right to be one of them. So I made this deal with God while I was in ministerial school. The deal with God was I would teach for the first couple of years that I was in a church, and then I would raise teachers, and then I wouldn't teach anymore. And I would raise teachers who were better than I was, who were born teachers, who would be really good at it, and then I would step back and I wouldn't have to teach anymore. And the funny part about it is somehow that actually did kind of happen. I mean, look at those of you who are teachers, who have gone on to teach this stuff beautifully. So that part of it worked really well. The thing is, I fell in love with teaching. Spiritual principles. I still don't think I'd want to teach in a classroom. I mean, a regular classroom. I don't want to be a history teacher. God knows I don't want to be a geometry teacher. That wouldn't serve anybody. But I love teaching spiritual principles. I love it. And I miss it. I do miss it. You know, we have created this wonderful opportunity for me to speak, which is my first love. I will grant you that. But I miss teaching. I miss that one-on-one activity in classes where somebody says, okay, so I've got this going on, and how do I apply principles to it? Because very early on, I really got, the light went on for me, that if someone asked a question I didn't think I knew the answer to, go back to basics. If God is all there is, how does that apply in this situation? And the answer always came. Always came. So those of you that were in my first few classes had no idea how petrified I was of what I was doing. But I came to love it. And now I miss it. So I guess I'll have to create a space to do that somehow. I'm not sure what that looks like, but we'll get it. Zoom classes, maybe. Let's think on that. Okay. I think we are at the it's time to pray time. Since we've been talking about time for everything, I think we are here, and I think there being a time for every purpose under heaven, that our purpose right now would be to pray and to get this week started off powerfully. Powerfully. We have a lot of work to do in the next few weeks, don't we? So let's be ready for it. Will you join me? And close your eyes if that feels comfortable. If not, just soft focus. Soft focus. So that your attention is going inward and not distracted by whatever may be going on around you. Mm. It is good to be in this space, to be with you, to be with God, to be in the stillness, and to let the world for just a few moments fall away. And know that with everything that there is to do in this life, there is always time to pray. A time for every purpose under heaven. And so I speak my word now for our collective awareness that spirit is all that there is. No matter what form it may have taken, no matter how it may appear, no matter what judgment we may have put upon it, spirit is still all that there is. One life in and through everything, one life in and through every one life, one. And we are immersed in it and filled with it and living it, and it is expressing through each and every one of us as us. We are one with God, one with the creative power of the universe, one with wholeness and love and kindness and creativity, one with all that there is, and one with one another. How glorious is that? How beautiful is that? How tender is that awareness? And so I know that in and through each of us this week, God has work to do. And that which is most on each of our minds is where that creative force will express itself. And that which we believe in, that which we stand for, God stands for and will create, because we are one. That which we focus our attention on, that shall become our reality. Let us know that, and let us not doubt, but let us be deep, deep believers. And as we believe, so it will be. We speak our word now for those in the darkness, that they may see the light. For those who are feeling ill, incapacitated, that they may be whole. For those that are confused, that they may have clarity. For those that are mourning, that they may have peace. And for those that are ready, that they may dance. And we know all of this will be so. And so it is. I love you guys. I just love you. And it is such a lovely thing to love you. Zoom. Jennifer likes the Zoom idea. Everybody have a wonderful week and be wonderful in it. Know that whatever your work is this week, whatever it is you are called to do, you will do it brilliantly. And know that wherever you go with God, because you can go no other way. I'll be back here Wednesday evening and again next Sunday at noon. Thank you for being here. You make the day precious, and I love you.